Entrepreneurs will sometimes start their business from a place of, I've got something to prove. At some point, hopefully, or if people aren't there yet, I sure hope it's coming, you get to a point where you're like, there's more than this. Like this is not fulfillment to say I told you so, or look at me, I did it.
Yeah, as you're talking, I was thinking about another conversation I had a few weeks ago on the podcast, and the guy I was talking to was talking about, and he had kind of these three phases that he had defined in his life. He said, as an entrepreneur, he's like, you go from survival to success to significance.
Yes.
And he had kind of just gone from success to significance. And I personally feel like I've recently gone from success to significance. 5 years ago, just like you were saying, I was just trying to prove everybody wrong. Mm-hmm. I was a high school dropout. I was a musician. I grew up, I was bullied. I had a genetic condition. Like I had all these chips on my shoulder. Right. And, about 2 years ago, something flipped, and now I'm just trying to, do good work and reform education and save the kids and, empower entrepreneurs, whatever it is. Right. So it's significance. But that's kind of what you're talking about. Right. Have you made that? Do you feel like you're in that third phase? Because you're pretty young. I wouldn't blame you if you weren't.
Yeah, I think I'm always working towards that. Like my vision has certainly changed, and there is so much success to be found. But I think I'm still, I never want to feel like I've made it. Like, awesome, I'm there, reach the finish line. There's no finish line. Right. So I don't even know if I can say, like, I'm not in survival anymore, but I wouldn't say that, like, I want what I do in my life is, to still be successful, but for a reason. It's not just fame and fortune and Lambos and look at me, mom. Like it's what's the reason behind this? And I think I'm always still trying to create more impact and know how I can reach more people. And I never want to drink my own Kool-Aid and think like, I'm the shit, I've made it. Like, I have so much more to learn and grow, and anything that I learn and grow, I can share.
What do you, at least at present, what is kind of your driving reason other than Lambos for working so hard? I mean, I see your stuff. That doesn't just happen. Like you work your butt off. What's driving you at this point?
That's a great question. Also, I drive a Mitsubishi. Just for the record, I'm not a car person anyway. That's interesting. It's such a cool question. And I think I need to think about that because I want security. Like I want money in the bank account that like, I don't have to think when I, want to buy something, even if it's a luxury item. I want that security, but I love my team. I love the people that I get to go to work with every day. And there were so many years even where I didn't pay myself. And I just paid them to be able to keep growing the business. I wanted to play the game. And I love what you said about, valuing freedom over security. And I want to keep playing this game, and I want to keep growing, and I want to see how many people I can reach and feel like I did a good thing, but also to try to remove the ego from that of like, I'm not trying to do a good thing for me to feel better about it. I want to see the success for other people and help them get to significance.
Yeah. I talked to somebody, I can't remember if it was earlier today or yesterday. It all runs together. Mm-hmm. But he was like, what my favorite part of the week is? And this was so cool. He goes, what my favorite part of the week is? I said, what? He goes, oh yeah, it was yesterday. I was on an interview. In fact, I know exactly who it was. It was the guy who started a franchise called Gym Guys, which is the largest personal training franchise in the world, I think. He's like, what my favorite part of the week is? And I was like, what? Payroll. I love paying my people.
Yes.
Because I'm literally like, the work we do is giving life to families. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, that's so cool. A lot of people like, they roll their eyes, they piss and moan about, I got to make payroll. No, you get to make payroll.
Yeah.
Right. You get to share the fruits, share the harvest of the work that you've all done. And I thought about it. I was like, I love payroll.
Yeah.
It's so fun to see this. And that's those kind of experiences, I think, are what make entrepreneurship so special.
I made a post about that. It came up on my, remember what you posted on this day. That my first sentence was like, I hate having to pay my employees. It was a quote. that's how I felt from one of my previous jobs. Anytime it was payday, my boss would be like, ugh, here you go. And I knew that I did good work, but I would, why would I feel guilty about taking that check that I worked for? And I just knew that I never wanted anyone to feel that way. And I've definitely been in jobs where I didn't feel supported, encouraged. I wasn't working in my superpower. Definitely have had some pretty toxic work relationships, as I'm sure a lot of people have had to go through that to realize what they want. And I never want to create an environment like that. And so it's cool to have the what not to do or what not to be experienced to learn that.
Let's back up. To the casual observer stumbling upon you, you're this, confident, highly productive, sort of fertile creator of, that's a weird thing to say to a woman, fertile creator of content, not humans. But I suspect, and I know from your story, it was not always the case. Like you had to kind of find your way into this comfort level and this world. Can you talk a little bit about that journey?
It's funny, you right before we started, hit record on this, we kind of joked about like, yeah, just overnight success. That's just how you, I've done, I think any entrepreneur would have like, roadblock after another, and then you have to at some point come to terms with like, oh yeah, this is what I signed up for. Like I'm willing to do what most people won't so that I can have what most people won't. And so for me, I feel like always growing up was like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I didn't want to have a 9 to 5, but I didn't know what entrepreneurship was. I didn't know that like I could really own my own business. So I worked in radio and television for a bit. I worked in entertainment, event management. And then I took a total U-turn and went to something normal. I was a dental hygienist for a few years and was bored of cleaning teeth, but just it was stable while I was figuring out what I wanted to be. And I started doing social media for the dental office. And then their IT guy was like, hey, can you do social media for my other client? Well, he referred me to all of his clients. And I was like, this is I can make money doing this. This is crazy. And I was just naturally good at, telling stories of like here, the people in the office and how can I make social media interesting about them instead of about like fun facts about whatever the industry is. Right. And then I started making videos for myself to try to get more clients. And some of those really started to take off. And then I was like, I wonder if I can make videos for my clients to help them get more clients. And it snowballed and it built from there that now we have a 7-figure video marketing agency and help our clients get to 6-figure, 7 figures, even 6-7-figure months on YouTube.
That's so cool. Yeah. You were talking about the overnight success. I actually posted a thing today on Instagram that I saw that said, and I'm looking at it right now. It says, a question was asked to Elon Musk. What words of encouragement would you give an entrepreneur? Elon answered, if you need words of encouragement, don't become an entrepreneur.
I saw that. Yeah. What a badass response. That was
I know.
great.
It's so good. It's so true too. So yeah, I mean, anyway, it speaks for itself, but yeah, it's hard. It's long. How long from the time you kind of were like, oh, there's something here that I might want to pursue, did it take for you to become, let's say, what you would consider a successful, thriving entrepreneur?
I would say, so I started doing social media kind of on the side while I was a dental hygienist in August 2016. And by April 2017, I quit and went all in. Doesn't mean that I was doing great because I definitely had times where like, that feast or famine, like, will I get a new client? Will I make some money here? Or you lose a client and then what's next? And then I even found myself probably about 6 months, actually, it was probably a full year later, that I was like, I've like created, I built this baby and I hate my baby. Like this business became my life, but I was saying yes to everything that was not necessarily in alignment with me. But I was like, well, if I say no, I'm turning down opportunities and how am I going to grow my business? But I didn't realize that by niching down and by saying no to, wrong opportunities, that would actually bring in the right ones for me. So I actually at that time let go of most of my clients and restructured from there, and had to do a lot of, soul searching of what do I want to do? What industries, niches, people do I want to work with? And that self-awareness has to come from within.
Yeah. So when I kind of came across you, I would say it was probably summer to fall 2018.
Okay.
So it sounds like that was right when you were going through the reinvent yourself or reinvent your business
That was
phase.
probably like shortly after. And that would have been around the time, because I went to Funnel Hacking Live for the first time in 2018. And then I joined Inner Circle shortly after. So that would have been around that
and
time.
that's how I came across you, was through the Inner Circle, the ClickFunnels Inner Circle connections. So yeah, that's interesting. Although frankly, 9 months from first foray into burning your boats and going full time, that's really fast.
Yeah, it was.
Most people don't go that fast. I'm going to forgive me for the personal question, but were you married and or did you have children?
I was married, and then at the beginning of 2020 got divorced. So it was interesting to grow in my business and then find, of who I am as an entrepreneur, and realize when people ask what happened in the marriage, I never want to give too personal of details, but it's very easy blanket statement to say, like, when we got married, we didn't know who we were yet. And then I discovered I was an entrepreneur and he wasn't, and we wanted different things. Of course, there's so much more to that, but I think it's something that a lot of entrepreneurs can face as they grow into who they are as a person in their purpose, that the relationships around them can become interesting. It doesn't mean that it doesn't work if your spouse isn't an entrepreneur, but in my case, it didn't.
That's interesting. My gut is telling me go there. So if you're comfortable, there's probably a lot of really cool material that would be a ton of value to people out there, because the reality is, being an entrepreneur, it's not just your job. It's your life.
Yeah.
And it has implications on all parts of your life. And I will share myself that I went through a divorce I would say, at least largely driven by, not necessarily that I was an entrepreneur, but who I was. And part of that was that I was an entrepreneur. I valued freedom over security. I didn't want to be tied down. I sort of, at least at that time in my life, I resisted routine. I wanted a little more of a carefree approach. Although now scaling a business, I'm like the most structured, routine driven person ever, because you just have to be to do it all. But yeah, so what more can you say, again, without being too personal, to whatever you're comfortable with? Like what drove that schism within that dynamic?
A lot of it was definitely hard to say. I want to be respectful to him. We don't have a relationship anymore, but when I was growing into who I was as an entrepreneur, and had so many opportunities, and in a way, I think a lot of entrepreneurs, they start their businesses and they have this drive of, I want to create a life for my family that I didn't have, or just new opportunities. And as you grow into that, at some point you can also lose sight of, wait, what's the original reason why I started that? Sometimes people start businesses and it just becomes a 24-hour job that they're still chained to their desk. But kind of interesting what you said about, you valued freedom over security. I can totally resonate with that. And absolutely, there were things where I was so focused on my business that there were parts of the relationship that I neglected. And I think any entrepreneur is going to try to find that balance. But there was also where I was willing to grow and that he didn't want to come with. I love what Steve Larson says, that your business will only grow to the level that you do. And as you grow in who you are personally, it's going to change every aspect of your life. And sometimes there are people that fall away. Sometimes they're the people that are the closest to you, or that you assume should be the most supportive, and they just aren't. And it's a personal decision of, am I going to work at this, or is this just not in alignment, and our season has run out?
Yeah, that's interesting. So 9 months. And the reason I asked about the marriage and the kids is because, I work with a lot of people that are trying, either fully trying to pivot into entrepreneurship, or at least start it in parallel, a side hustle, maybe with a job or whatever. And so often the family is such a weighty part of the strategy. How much time can I commit to this? When do I quit my job? And not so much even a spouse, but kids. A lot of times kids are, so the fact, I'm guessing to make that shift in 9 months when it was still a little bit feast or famine, you didn't have kids.
No, I don't have kids.
Yeah. Yeah. And that, that probably warrants saying, because one of the things I'm always careful of is like my experience, the right way to do it isn't necessarily to do what I did. I just found my right way to do it. Right. But if you've got 6 kids and you're the sole breadwinner, don't be crazy like necessarily I was,
Yeah.
So you're a dental and before you were a dental hygienist, or even while you were a dental hygienist, and you had this idea, I don't want to have a 9 to 5. Did you have a clarity and even a picture around, thus, I do want to be an entrepreneur and I think I know what that looks like? Or was it more just like, I don't want to have a job, so I got to figure something else out?
I didn't know that I had what it took to start a business. I think I got too much in the weeds of like, well, I got to get a license and I got to do these things and payroll and like the tactical things that I don't even think of now. You can outsource that.
Right.
But I think my thing was, well, I don't even know what I would do. It's not like I want to start up a retail store or a restaurant. Like, I think that was my exposure to it at that time. So I was also just looking for, at the time, while I was trying to figure out what I want to be when I grow up, what's a job that will still give me flexibility and freedom. And when I worked in entertainment, I could come and go into the office and I could, work evenings or work mornings and the time was flexible. And then when I went into dental hygiene, I was like, oh, this is great because you work your hours and you don't bring work home with you. Like, you just work, you clean teeth and like, then you're done. So that was kind of I was like, oh, there's some freedom there. But then I hated that you have to be there at 9 a.m. and you have to be like, you finish at this time and you don't, if I have to take a phone call or want to go to lunch or a doctor appointment, like I got to get permission for someone to be able to do that. And I used to think that there was security in someone else signing my paychecks. So leaving was a difficult decision of, well, maybe one more client, or maybe I'll make a little bit more money before I go. And I think in 2020, we realized how false that belief is of there's security in someone signing our paychecks. Because look at how many people lost their jobs when the unthinkable happened.
Mm-hmm.
And then people then the government has to pay, and entrepreneurs are the ones who have multiple sources of revenue and have no ceiling on their income. So I'm so glad that I figured that out and was able to squash that belief when I did.
Hey, sorry for the interruption. I just wanted to let you know you can get a free copy of my book, The Millionaire Shortcut, which shows you the fastest way to become a millionaire in the new economy. And there's a special link just for this episode in the description. Thanks for tuning in, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the episode. So you went, you doubled down on content production. I'm curious, how did you approach this past year content consumption? Did those habits change at all?
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking to that, and when I would say, I actually used myself, like, hey guys, I'm not going quiet, and it's not time for you to go quiet either. And look at what the world is doing. They're not at work. They're working from home. They're consuming content more than ever. We are attached to our devices, and even looking at the stats, like the numbers on like how many more people were on Facebook, how much content was being consumed on YouTube, just to show that and be like, guys, this is where your audience is. And I have the system to help you turn that content into cash flow. And even comparing, like, look at the celebrities right now. I mean, celebrities couldn't be, actors weren't on movie sets. So they're turning like Instagram stories into like, look at me in my kitchen. But here's the thing with what the celebrities are doing, that sure, they have big audiences, but they're also a little, as much as we are interested in seeing what their life is like, we also are really attracted to those creators, the marketers that are showing how relatable they are. Mm-hmm. How many TikTokers, made really fun, entertaining content from, being stuck in quarantine. And if you can turn that into your value ladder and monetize it, like, people had I've heard from a lot of people, you know what, I actually grew my business in 2020.
Yeah, I grew my business 3,000% in 2020.
Oh my God, see?
Like beginning of 2020, I was like, who is this guy? What is he doing? Mm-hmm. Do I care? End of 2020, I think we might have the fastest growing private education company in the world. Like, it was bananas.
Yeah.
It was nuts. And I was sitting there looking around me going, what are you doing? The world changed. Get ahead of it.
Yeah.
And I will say one of the things that I did, and I'm curious if you did this too, was I 100% eliminated my consumption of social media content.
Did you? Good for you.
100%. To this day, the only reason I go on it is I might look at a specific marketer. Like, for example, I looked at your stuff an hour ago because I knew we were going to talk, right?
Yeah.
But it's all intentional. It's all with purpose. The feed, I must be hungry because I have no feed in my life. Like I haven't looked at a feed in a year.
Yeah. Good for you. Imagine what that does to your mental health and your psychology. Good for you.
I feel like a giant among men, and I don't say that from ego. I say that from hygiene, mental hygiene. My mind is clean.
Yes.
And in this world between COVID, the presidential election, Black Lives Matter, and all the contention surrounding that, like, if there was ever a year to stop polluting your brain with this stuff, it was this year. And I even said on a podcast yesterday, I said, look, I'm the best of I try to be the best of the worst. So if you're going to consume something, consume my stuff. But still, my advice would be don't consume anything, including my stuff.
Yeah.
And that's against my own interest to say, but I think that's pro human interest to say. Like, I'm curious. So like, as a video content creator, somebody who's gotten so much value out of these social platforms. And I will say your primary focus is YouTube, right?
YouTube, and I do a lot on Instagram as well.
Okay. I feel very differently about those two platforms. I love YouTube. I kind of think Instagram is garbage, but I'm curious, and I'll explain why. I'm not just like a hater, but but I'm curious, like, how do you feel about social media in general? I guess in terms of its impact on society.
I'm glad that I didn't have social media growing up. Facebook, I was in grade 12 when Facebook showed up. And it's funny, my first Facebook status is, you know how on Facebook, maybe you don't know, on Facebook, it'll say like on this day, and it'll be like the last couple of years you posted on that day. And sometimes my first Facebook post ever, I was going through a breakup in grade 12, and my Facebook status was Marley is sad. Just funny to see how I've evolved over time.
Right.
But I love social media, but I also see where it is a detriment to people with their mental health, with their productivity, with just gossip and drama and getting sucked into other people's narratives or motives. So I luckily, I kind of just have a routine of when I check social media, and I really like to be personable and connect with my audience. So like, I love, sharing a little bit of my day. Like, even I took a little Instagram story, and we'll share, us on this podcast, and then talk about it. But then, in the evening, I'll go through all my direct messages and respond to all of them. Cause that's me, not like an assistant. I want to connect with my people. Cause that's also how I'm going to learn what my audience needs, wants, what they're responding to. And, I'm the visionary for my business. But when I scroll, I try to be quick about it. And I also do just a personal time study every day where I write down every single thing that I do. And I don't want to write down that I scrolled through Instagram for 45 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice. I mean, again, it's only with intention. And I guess cause again, I have so many people that are like, I want to be an entrepreneur. What needs to change for that to become my reality? And it's usually time management.
Yes.
And I'm like, that's probably the biggest relationship for a lot of people that needs to change. Is their whole relationship to the internet as going from a consumer to a producer.
Yeah.
And if you want to respond to direct messages, great. Block off some time and go do that. Even if you want to comment on other people's posts, block off some time and go do that. If you want to interact in your group, block off some time and go do that. But yeah, the idea of just like, I'm exploring, I'm just like wandering through the land of these social platforms, I think is so, it could be better. It's just not, because human nature just we don't do well with like free drugs, free sex, and free social media. Like we indulge too much. It just doesn't go well.
Your time, do you have like every hour of your day blocked off?
Yeah. So this is my schedule for today.
Cool.
So yeah. I mean, that was 19 hours of my day accounted for. Yeah.
In the spots that are blank, like if there's a 15-minute window, or do you block
Mhm.
off like rest, eat lunch, go to the gym? Like how much do you also schedule your downtime or your play?
Yeah. So 3:30 to 4:30 is wake up and morning routine. 4:30 to 5:30 is gym. 5:30 to 6:30 is practice piano.
Cool.
6:30 to 8 is family morning and eat breakfast. So I see my kids. And so, yeah, I have, and I mean, like from 10 to 11:30 today, I had just like, I called it creation time,
Mhm.
right? It's just making, I'm working on a course right now. So yeah, everything, I try to, and I'm curious, do you do this? I mean, say, okay, at the end of the year or the end of the month or the end of the week, whatever unit of time, here's what I want to have done. So how do I take my 168 hours a week and organize it so all those things get done?
Right.
And do you script it to that detail?
I certainly have routines. And so we also follow Alex Sharfin's waterfall methodology for how you plan your time and your future goals. So we know like what's our year objectives, our 90-day targets, our 30-day goals, our weekly commitments. And I know from the weekly commitments on Monday, like where I'm blocking those things that are actually going to move the needle in my business. And like you, I have my routine. I go to bar class every morning. That's my movement every morning.
Mhm.
And then I know like I have this time before my calls get started where I can read, get dressed, get ready, journal, whatever I need to do. And then it goes into scheduled calls. But then my evenings are fairly flexible of, am I going to keep working? Am I going to play? Am I going to go out with somebody?
Right. Yeah, yeah, and I build that flex time in too. So like I think today, actually, I'm coaching a basketball team
Good.
for my high school, a bunch of high school kids, and we have practice from 7 to 8, and then after that, it's just like hang out with my wife and chill, and
Yeah.
so yeah, you have to build that in too. Like you can't be a Terminator,
Yeah.
or you'll lose your mind. But again, I mean, what we're talking about versus where most people are is is a world apart. And I don't say that supercilious. I just say it like sad
Hmm.
almost. Like the value of time, and it kind of goes to that employee mindset. Like time is a thing that I can kind of take for granted, except insofar as I should trade units of it for money.
Hmm.
And I don't know, maybe tell me how you feel, because I suspect it's different than that.
The thing I love trading, I'm not going to trade hours for dollars. I need to look at like what's the most revenue generating thing that I can do. And then when I'm free, like what's the most freeing, playful thing that I can do that's going to re-energize me and bring me back into this. And what I was just thinking of when you were saying that is like previous relationships where maybe I was like, I'm focused. I've always been goal oriented, like high school, even always like that of just here's what I'm doing. And my schedule is busy. I'm fueled by that. And may have complaints from like friends or boyfriends or relationships of, well, you never spend time with me. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm going to go to bed when you're at the bar. I'm sorry, I'm up and working when you're sleeping until noon. And I'm like, I'm excited about life. And
Yeah.
sometimes I'm like, when people ask, are you a night owl or a morning person? And I'm like, I know you can't have both, but like, I love both. I just like to be alive and doing something with that time.
How many hours a night do you sleep?
7. I want to say more, but like, I would like more, but it's sometimes 6 or 7.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel you. So how did you, for lack of a better way to say it, how did you get this way? What was there an early influence? Were you just born with it? Like what happened?
I've done a lot of therapy to try to find that. um, I think that this is a common thing for entrepreneurs, and I can definitely speak for myself that I think entrepreneurs will sometimes start their business from a place of I've got something to prove.
Yeah.
And at some point, hopefully, or if people aren't there yet, I sure hope it's coming, you get to a point where you're like, huh, there's more than this. Like this is not fulfillment to say I told you so, or look at me, I did it, despite all the people that told me I couldn't. You get to a point where you're like, yeah, okay, the fame and fortune isn't actually what's fulfilling me. And so I definitely had that, like, look what I can do and I can do this. And I have a great, my parents are amazing, but I always wanted to impress them. I was a little child performer, like, dance classes and singing and piano lessons, and like always wanted to see mom and dad in the audience smiling up at me.
Mhm.
and definitely had kids in school that, were mean to me. And, those young experiences, I think, somehow stay with you. And they definitely stayed with me, of the mean girls in school, or just wanting to make my parents proud while I was up on a stage. That fueled me for a time. And I can look at that and say, that's too bad that I got my self-worth from outside sources, but it served me to a point and brought me to the awareness of, well, wait a minute, how can I actually find that self-worth from within? And I mean, that's a huge reason why also my marriage didn't work. Look at how much I changed and shifted to evolve, that who I was before didn't serve the relationship that I was in, that, he liked me when I was limited. And as I grew, that can become threatening. Like, how, I'm sure anyone listening knows what it's like when your growth lands on someone else's wound, and it can be a trigger or it can be a fuel.
Is that a thing you say, or just a thing you just said, when your growth lands on someone else's wound?
Yeah, I say that.
So that's good. That's good stuff. I'm taking that. That's
it's happened
beautiful.
Over and over.
Yeah. And you also said he liked me when I was limited.
Yeah.
I don't know. We might just have to end right now. That was some good stuff. We won't, but that was good stuff. This past year has rocked so many people. And it's not that it was like an easy year for entrepreneurs necessarily. It's just that we've already been training for this.
Yes.
We know how to roll with punches and find new opportunities and have a radar for value and know how to create solutions to people's pain points and how to present those solutions in a compelling way that drives conversions and transactions. Like that's just, I don't know anybody that would go, I don't want to know all that. That's not interesting to me. Right.
What's so interesting, at the beginning of everything, the lockdowns and everything, I of course had a moment of like, how do I pivot things? How do I change what I'm doing to, be sensitive to what's happening in the world? And I decided to get louder. That I was like, I'm not going to shut down my content. I'm going to get louder. And I sure did have people commenting on my ads or on my posts being like, hey, honey, do you realize that we're in lockdowns? This is kind of insensitive of you to be doing this. And I just responded with, you know what? I am fighting with you. I am fighting for you. And what I am doing is going to help you to make money in this economy when things are very unprecedented. I hate that word. We've heard it way too many times. Right. Unprecedented and unpredictable. So what I'm doing in selling you a $47 challenge that people have been proven to make thousands of dollars from, I'm sorry, I'm not going to go quiet.
Yeah, it's funny. It is fun. I mean, this last year, we don't need to, it's probably, the horse is dead. Like we don't need to beat it anymore. But I mean, it was such a petri dish of human psychology of like, we got to see employees and we speak in generalities because we're marketers, right? We have to like define words that we can use with specific impact and meaning. But like we talk about employees and entrepreneurs, like we saw employees go full employee in 2020, like full dependency, full I'm screwed and don't know what to do, full I don't know how to take responsibility. I don't know where to go if nobody's telling me where to go. I don't know what to work on if nobody's telling me what to work on. Like, and we saw entrepreneurs go full entrepreneur. I kind of think of it as like if anarchy broke out, you would have like the wolves and the sheep. And the sheep would get real sheepish and the wolves would get real wolfish because the environment would demand those extremes. That's kind of what we just went through.
That's interesting. That's totally a great way to put it. I saw from people this year what I never expect, like people even the closest to me that are in the fight or flight and reacting out of fear. And you can kind of just see so just scroll through your timelines, the people that are, responding to fear or that are looking to optimism and how can I control this situation?
I kind of feel like at least bad jobs are great because you kind of learn what you're going to appreciate when you're an entrepreneur, even when it's hard. Yeah, that's interesting. I had one job. I was 16 years old. I got fired after 3 weeks. And I refer back to it all the time in my mind. Like, how did that feel? What was it like? The boss, the supervisor, the towing the line, the dress code, the showing up at a certain hour, the clocking out, and it's like all of it. The condescending secretaries. I delivered paper clips, print cartridges, and whiteout to legal secretaries. That was my job. I worked in the office supply room, and yeah, never again. So, okay. Let's bring up to present. So you've done this work. I'm realizing now from when I first encountered you to now, and, you know, I was kind of researching, you know, I've lost touch. I'm not a super fan per se, but I was reconnecting with your work as I knew we were going to have this interview. And I'm like, whoa, she's come a long way.
Yeah.
Her audience, her delivery, her style, all the stuff you said, your clarity of messaging. You've gotten really precise about who you are and what you offer, at least on the pages that I saw. And it's great. I totally see why you're having the success you're having. Talk a little bit about what you are doing now in the world, because I think there's probably a lot of people in the audience that would benefit from it.
So like I mentioned that I started as a social media manager, then moved into video marketing, have a video marketing agency. And one of the things that I kept finding with my clients that they'd fall off at, like whether it was the service or whether it was a coaching program, is, you know, creating content is great and all, but is that the priority if you don't have cash flow? If you don't have cash flow, you're in survival. Like making a video, you're like, I just got to do, like, I got to get a client, I got to do something. And video is consistent, but it takes some effort up front. And so what I had to shift in our strategy was content that turns into cash flow and the strategies that can bring you a cash influx, and also what's going to fill your pipeline over the long term. So you never have to be in that feast or famine, like, oh my God, what am I going to do for a client right now? You just go to your pipeline that your videos from years ago are still generating for you. Like myself, my clients, we have videos from, 5, 6 even years ago that are still ranking at the top of YouTube. It's attention that we own, not attention that we rent. Renting meaning like, you know, paying into Facebook ads. Right. We're not pay to play. These are videos that are consistently filling the pipeline. That, yes, that's some upfront work, but in the meantime, here's some cash flow systems. So what I want to bring to people's lives is how to create a content machine and a cash flow system. So that's what we do.
And forgive me if I seem distracted, it's because I was actually looking, you got me thinking about YouTube stats and YouTube analytics. And I was looking at them, like, and noticing how, because there was a point probably about a year to year and a half ago when some of the stuff you're talking about really clicked, and I got very intentional. And in a way, it's like the Navy SEALs say, slow is smooth, smooth is fast. I slowed down on my video production, my video creation. And I got very, I focused on creating systems, and I focused on producing optimized content, not just a lot of content that was unsystematized. And it just, it's amazing what's happened. Not just on YouTube ad revenue, but just like in the business as a whole. You talk about using video to fill your pipeline. And listen, if you're in the audience, I'm not pitching you. I don't provide this service. I'm not in this business. I have plenty of work to do for my own business. But what Marley is saying is so powerful. I would argue, I don't know that there's a more powerful thing you can do to get the dual benefit of lead generation and filling your pipeline, but also building relationships and establishing your brand authority.
Yes.
Then creating good video content.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So how do you help people?
We have a whole value ladder. It's a do-it-yourself course, a done-with-you coaching, or a service where people can fly out to our studio and we film all the content for them. They just come for filming and we do the rest. And with this strategy, regardless of if you're in the course, coaching, or service, bring people to 6-7 figures, even some at 6 and 7 figure months.
So you're one of those scammers that I buy something from, and then you're like, oh, now you got to buy the more expensive thing. Oh, now you got to buy the more expensive thing, right? One of those people.
No, you could just stay in the course or the coaching program. If you have more time than money, go ahead, do it yourself. But if at some point you're like, I got more money than time, I don't want to film myself, I don't want to hire a video editor and manage them and have to upload these myself and create the thumbnails and do the marketing strategy and all, and the lead magnets and the things, that's a lot. You can do it yourself. Absolutely. Here's the system to do it. You need my help to do it. Let me coach you through it and give you my resources, or I can just do it for you and you show up once a month.
Obviously you knew I was joking.
I'm not trying to help you get rich slow here.
Yeah, exactly. Right. No, I'm bitter because I got, it's like, I talk about how I don't indulge in content consumption. I'm super rigid and meticulous about my time, but sure enough, this morning I dropped my daughter off from school, I stopped at the grocery store to get a coffee. I checked my email and there was some message in there ripping me apart for being a scammer because I sell stuff and I like money. And so, yeah, I'm bitter today.
Yeah, you capitalist pig.
I know. I'm just greed. I just ooze greed. But so maybe speaking of, I mean, because you talked about helping other people build a value ladder and you described your own,
Yeah.
That's a, like the palm of our hand concept to you and me, but can you maybe explain the value ladder to the audience?
Oh, well, your value ladder is your products and services in kind of a sequence of your lowest price to your highest price. And as people ascend in those steps from your lowest price to your highest price, you're giving them more value, you're giving them more access to you, and the price is increasing. But your value ladder is also kind of the same thing packaged in different ways. So I'm still giving you the same strategy and results, but at the bottom of the value ladder, you may be investing more time than money. At the top of the value ladder, you may be investing more money than time. Same thing with like a book. I could read this book, but I have to, digest it, think about it, implement it, try, fail, maybe go back to the book. Or maybe I just hire someone to be like, hey, that thing you wrote in the book, can you just implement that in my life? Great. I'll just pay you for that. So your people are paying for ease and speed as they ascend in the value ladder.
Yeah, it's interesting. And again, I have I never know where these conversations are going to go. That's why I love doing this. But as you've got me thinking about the dynamics of a value ladder, you're right. Sometimes, and that's probably the most common, is money and time. The inversion of money and time as you ascend through the value ladder, right? One becomes diminished and one becomes increased. Where you said, like you said, you're paying for, you're spending more money to spend less time.
Right.
But sometimes it could be access, right? Like you get to the highest level. I mean, you mentioned being in inner circle, the Russell's inner circle, right?
Yes.
That's not necessarily indirectly, it might accelerate a result.
Yes.
But what you're paying, but it would happen through basically network access.
Yes.
Right. I mean, this would be a musing that you and I could go have off an interview, because it would be boring to just listen to us think. I wonder what other variables you can weave into a value ladder that people essentially pay more for to get more of something else. That's interesting. Certainly access and time are the two that jump to mind.
Yeah.
But no, what I love, this is why I loved consulting when I did it, is you can take any business and structure a value ladder. And I think that is
to do.
Right.
Yeah.
If there was one thing, I'm going to hypothesize that if there was one thing that any business owner could learn to do to completely transform the economics of their business, it would be learn how to take your products and services and structure them into an effective value ladder.
And to have the system that can bring people right from the front end all the way up to the top.
Yeah. So learn how to build a value ladder and learn some sort of scalable, automated, or at least scalable lead generation method to drive people into that value ladder and convert them.
Amen. Named it.
And
I think
go ahead.
I think a lot of people, when, in the ClickFunnels world, like you're just one funnel away, they might think, well, I'm driving all this traffic to this one thing. Yeah. But you can have a funnel stack where people can come into a $47 product, then be upsold. Then there's like an application page on the back of that brings them to a high ticket, multi-$1,000 product. That it's not just like sell $1,000 things. It's, you can bring them into the $1,000 thing and then ascend them to a $10,000 thing.
Yeah. And I will share right now. If you want to come join Entre Institute, I'll tell you exactly what you're going to find. $39, $297, $197, $1,997, $3,997, $4,997, $9,997, $17,997, $29,997, $59,997.
Ta-da.
Boom. That's our value ladder.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we're good at what we do.
Yeah. We
eat our own cooking, because it's exactly what we're going to teach you to do. And it's exactly what Marley's going to teach you to do. And I love what Marley's sort of her core premise, which is that video will drive that more effectively than anything else. And I shouldn't put words in your mouth. Is that your premise?
I 100% believe it. Where else can you make a video and have it still generate leads for you years later without you putting any ad spend into it?
Amen. Yeah. And YouTube is the second largest search engine in the world. And by the way, the first largest search engine in the world loves serving up YouTube videos as search results because it owns YouTube, right? Yeah. So then let's take, I'm trying to decide. Yeah, let's go with it. Let's take an example of, actually, why don't you give us a case study from your business? Just, you don't have to name names, but just pick a business category and type that you've worked with, and what did you steer them to do?
Yeah. So there's a client that has been using this strategy for, she's like just reaching a year. And when she started on the strategy, she had 1,600 subscribers on her YouTube channel. So she had like a little bit, she had started it. Mm-hmm. A year later, she is in the Airbnb, like real estate investing industry. Okay. She has 200,000 subscribers now. In the month of December.
You said a year later?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. In the month of December, she got 4,000 organic leads just from YouTube that she can bring all the way up her value ladder. And in the month of December, she made $29,000 just from YouTube ad revenue, which that's not even our primary focus because we want to bring in those leads and ascend them in the value ladder. So from those 4,000 leads, I don't have the permission to share what happened from that, but you can imagine what she was able to convert from that, whether now or later. Like those
what's her product stack?
I can't share all of that information. I don't have all the information, but she has like front end to, I think her highest price is $50,000.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and guess 4,000 leads, a super wild guess, mm-hmm. $200 to $400. Well, you said leads, not sales.
Yeah. Just leads, people who subscribe to her email list.
So let's assume she converts 5% of them into sales at a $300 revenue per lead. Mm-hmm. 5% of 4,000. And those would be, would that be 200 at what did I say, $300? Yeah. 200, 600, 6,000. So that's $60,000 you said in a month?
In a month. That was just the month of December, 2020.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm giving based on the obviously tiny amount of information and my limited knowledge of the industry, but certainly anybody that's got that range in their value ladder, that's probably a conservative estimate. Mm-hmm. Tell me, would that be a conservative estimate?
I would say so.
Yeah. Yeah. So like, I'm trying to get this into people's brains. Like, you don't have to struggle in the world we live in.
Right. There's so much works. Yes. And like time management, here's something that you might want to do with your time. I'm not saying you have to work with me, but like, this is a system that works. And whether you're going to sleep in or you're going to like, hey, wake up and make some videos that are going to turn into cash flow, I'd say that's a good investment of time.
Yeah. I mean, when I started Entre, I spent a year, and I know you talked about people are like, oh, do I have time to make videos? I need cash flow. I'll just share with you my experiment. When I started Entre, I was really committed that I was going to use Entre as the proof of what I would then teach in Entre of like, hey, you can do this. You don't need to like go bring on an angel investor, right? Like you can bootstrap this. And so I set myself a year and a $25,000 budget to lay the groundwork for Entre. And for a year, all I did was make videos and boost them to cold audiences and build retargetable audiences. Mm-hmm. And after a year, I didn't even have a product. I was just giving away value, right? Mm-hmm. After a year, I created a course. I now had 2 million people that I could promote that course to that were in my pixel, my Facebook pixel. I did Facebook, not YouTube. Started running ads. Spent 6 months tweaking the offer. And then had a calendar year 2020. We sold 60,000 of those courses.
Yeah.
I mean, we sold 10,000 of them last month. Like, I spent 25 grand, which let's face it, if you believe you can do this,
yeah,
you can go get 25 grand. And honestly, you don't even have to, because most people aren't trying to build what you and I have built. They're just trying to make some extra money, right?
Right.
You could do it with $2 grand. You could do it with $500. So let's say somebody comes into your program, you start coaching them on structuring their time, engaging with your process, working your method, creating the content, like brand new person, assuming they have some sort of product or service to sell. What now?
What now?
Yeah. What do they do? They've started creating that. Like, do you steer them on, you talked about videos and converting those videos into cash flow.
Yeah.
So how do they do that? Do you coach them on sales? Do you coach them on building funnels? Like, what do they do from the video to create the cash?
Yeah. So assuming that they, they already have an offer, if they don't have the funnels, we need to create that before you even launch the videos. So it's like, click link below to get this thing. And we know the system, the whole customer journey that people are going to come to, from opt-in to hello to high ticket. And then from there, like, you have this now routine, your impacts routine of how often you're putting out these videos, but then what you're also doing with, like, your documenting content, your Instagram stories, that's bringing people into your ecosystem, your email marketing. And if you want to launch something like a challenge, which can become, we call it an infinite cash flow loop, because you can launch a challenge every month. Here's a 21-day challenge. Here's a 21-day challenge. And if people are coming in from your YouTube videos, a 21-day challenge is a really great first low investment, financial and time, for them to be indoctrinated into your system. And they get into this habit of not only, the skills that you're teaching them, but over 21 days, they get into the habit of consuming your content, which makes it easy to ascend them to high ticket.
Yeah. Amen. Thank you. I didn't have a specific answer I wanted, but if I did, that was it.
Great.
No, I mean, and you mentioned even challenges. We're literally building a challenge right now. We're launching our own software platform, and we're coupling it with challenge training to get people into the, not that maybe that many people are launching their own SaaS, but if you are, a challenge is a great way to get people onboarded into the SaaS and retain them, because you create usage, not just, I guess, people looking under the, go, oh, that looks cool, I should do that someday. No, like, the challenge can walk them through engagement and creating usage and momentum. So speaking of challenges, you have the Infinite Impact Challenge. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, so it's the Infinite Video Impact Challenge, and this is where we actually teach you the system of how to turn these videos into evergreen assets for your business that can generate leads on autopilot. So over 21 days, we create the whole system with you. Every day there's an action item of your lead generation, your lead nurture, your lead conversion, and at the end of your 21 days, you should have the rest of your strategy ready to go.
And people can find out more about that where?
Yeah, go to infiniteimpactchallenge.com.
Awesome. And I've already perused that site and opted in, and it looks really, really solid. I haven't been through the challenge, but it looks really, really solid. So, well, Marley, this has been amazing.
Yeah, what a great conversation.
So, okay, I got actually one more question I have to ask, and feel free to say, Jeff, that's super obnoxious. Don't ask. Remember, small minds talk about people. You can remind me of my own quote that we had before we hit record. Have you bumped into your ex since you are such a baller?
No, I left the country, and we have no contact, and that's on purpose.
Okay, gotcha. All right. Well, forgive me, like, super gossipy, annoying question. I was like curious. I couldn't help myself. Okay. Well, this has been really great. And I thank you for your time. I thank you for what you're doing in the world. I thank you for evangelizing what I believe is such a deep truth, which is that the power of video marketing distributed through these online platforms has a life-changing potential for millions of people. And if you're one of those people out there listening, go check Marley's stuff out. I've tracked her for a couple of years, and it's great. Any final thoughts?
This was so fun I love that we talked about all sorts of things, but thank you for letting me share. And for anyone interested, also come follow me on YouTube or Instagram. Like I said, I personally respond to any message, especially on Instagram. So come, we can go chat over there.
If you loved that episode, then you're definitely going to love this one. Check it out.
Our whole education system, so much of our systems are really incorrect, and we really need to change that, because all of these things damage people's self-esteem, chip away at people,